What's up, guys? It's your girl, Chrys Childs, on the one and only FUBU Radio. You know, I'm glad you're tapping in and locked in, but you know, the only way to truly stay tapped is to close. What else? Follow me. All right. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, Chrys Childs, Chrys with a Y. Do not ask me why. We're right here on FUBU Radio with my boy, longtime friend, Big D. From DaMatrix Studios.
I'm in the building.
You were in the building. Listen, this is a special one, y'all. Y'all know I already like to bring my peoples on, special people, you know, let y'all know what the network and the circuit is like. But this is someone who is super special to me in a lot of ways because I think, like, you kind of really pushed me forward in this sense. Like, I was already doing it, but people don't know. You've been doing this since before it was hot.
Right.
What do they call it now? The podcasting
They call
space?
it podcasting, yeah. Back when we started, it was just internet radio.
It was internet radio.
It was the radio format with internet, on the internet, and a lot of people wasn't feeling that.
They didn't get it. Get it. But the ones that got it did and created some really good shows, a lot of good personalities, great interviews. And what people don't understand is that the way it started is that's when you really like had your feet and touched the culture.
Began. That was a catchphrase. That was the slogan on everything that I was posting, where it all began, because it was always about where someone began. So no matter what you was doing. I mean, we focused on the radio part, but we had all type of celebrities and new people coming up and new DJs, old DJs. But we always wanted to know where it all began. So.
And that's what separated it, because people don't understand. Like, people would say internet radio like it wasn't a thing. There were celebrities coming to the station. You had the media days, and you had all these great personalities that's just out there and getting it. And yo, kudos to you, and that's why I always give you like big shout out all the time. Every time I see you, like, hey D, what's up?
When you came around, that was like the prime. So my prime of my career, I would say 2017. So whatever happened leading up to 2017 was really like special to me, because I just remember, I think that 2016 I had Cardi B come there. I think that 2017 I had Funkmaster Flex and DJ Self was there.
Yeah.
Like shout out to what's that? My Experience. My Experience. Was that the name of the show? I'm messing up his show now. But shout out to them shout out to everybody that was a part of that coming up, because I was laying the groundwork and doing all of the connectivity, but you guys were actually outside feeding off that energy and bringing in the energy as well. So so what was the name of your show? Let's just talk about your show before we go back into.
So my show, okay. Well, I've been doing it. So I came to you later on. I was already doing a show.
Right.
So when we did the Bartender's Diary, for those of you who know,
Diary,
they know. So stay tuned for some new stuff that's coming out around there. And that's when I was like heavy into bartending, and I was just like, listen, I have a lot to say. There's things going on. What is this world? But like I said, coming from one station to coming to you, it was a very big camaraderie. It was a family. You saw people who were hungry, and you were just like at the head of that, just saying, yo, this is how we do it. This is what we should do, and just making it happen. Right. And that's one of the reasons why we're here, to talk about it, because people, they get into it. It's not just about getting on the mic and buying the equipment. Right. Great. I love that you guys have the initiative, but it's a lot more that goes into it. So let's go into the history.
Yeah, so let's get into it.
So let's talk about how you started.
Let's go all the way back.
All the way back.
2000 is where I started.
2000.
Prior to that, I was just a DJ coming up behind my uncles, learning how to DJ in my neighborhood. Actually, I always tell this story.
You was learning how to DJ?
Learning how to DJ, because they were DJs already. They're like 7 and 5 years older than me. So I always give them their props. And my cousin was probably, I think, maybe 9 or 10 years older than me. So they all was into hip hop at the very beginning. So I'm the next generation of that. So I was in between playing basketball and playing with my toys.
It was in your frequency.
Yeah, it was there. All the equipment was there. So I didn't have to like try to figure out how to learn how to use stuff or how I was gonna get my hands on stuff. I was just breaking needles and you know, sneaking on things when they left out the house and
putting on those other records.
Exactly. Scratching up records, didn't know how to do what I.
So wait, tell me about the art of scratching realistically, because like, are you really messing up the records, or is it like, it's
all right, so if you catch it right, because records have grooves in it, so if you catch it on the groove, you're not doing anything, you're just going back and forth on the groove. But if you start doing it mad heavy, the needle will start jumping this way, and that's when you see the scratches. And that's where, if you ever seen a record go on a scratch, a needle go on a scratch record, it drags down that, because it's not supposed to go that way.
Yeah, so it leaves another groove for it to follow.
Right,
Got
it. That's where you scratch it up.
Did you mess any up?
Probably did.
Probably did.
Not intentionally though.
But they ain't saying nothing. They was like, "Yo, he learning."
Right.
All right, so you went that path. Then
I went through that path. I graduated. Well, I came from a background of both parents fell victim to the drugs in the 80s. So that kind of propelled me to be moved with my grandmother at the age of 13. So literally that transition from 13 to 18, that's a young man's time to try to find himself. But I always loved hanging out with my uncles. So I was when things were going rough at my house, I was already hanging out on the weekends. I went from Fordham, so I was on Boston Road uptown in the Bronx, and I used to live on Fordham Road, 184th Street, Walton. I used to travel on that Beeline bus off to going towards Westchester up to
because you had something to do, and that's a big shout out to your uncles for being the male figures in your life at that time. So that's what you was doing.
And they wasn't the uncles that, even though they was outside trying to find their way, in and out, but not so much so heavy into it. They would I was never permitted to do that. Like they never pushed it down. Like, oh, you gonna come up and sell some drugs or whatever. They did that so I could do this. So
I mean, but that's what most family back in the day was for. It wasn't for us to follow. It was to really just kind of get our situation out of it.
And sacrifice. That was the sacrifice. And then after that, in the neighborhood that I came up over there, I just was like, I was accepted by the older guys, which was heavy into fashion and everything. They had the Sherlins and all that. Yeah. So I was coming from an area where I didn't have much, but I go over there. My uncles would pass me down some things to get me fly. So I learned a lot from them and got into the technical part of it. I think I always was gadgets. I always loved toys and gadgets. So from a young age, I like to press buttons. Like so, anything with knobs and
interesting.
Things, it's interesting.
Figure it out.
So going to their house, it was always video games was there. They had the Nintendo. They had all that first, so they got it first. They had jobs after a while, so they was able to afford certain things. And my grandmother took care of them. So when we got to live with my grandmother, I was happy. So I wasn't happy that I wasn't with my parents no more, but I was very happy that I was able to be safe and comfortable. And I was awarded a state, so I was part of a company. Me and my sisters, I have two sisters, were part of a company called Independent Living. Okay. And it was for like foster kids. But because a lot of the kids were actually foster kids and me and my sisters were living with our grandmother, it was an easier situation. And my foster agency reps, they took me, they was young. So if I was like 17, 18, 13. So when I was 13, they was probably just like 20, 21. Gotcha. So they was young, close to us. So we used to do cool things, take us upstate to Albany and learn different things, open us bank accounts. So we learned things that your average kid from the hood that didn't have the system behind them.
So you had everything kind of just poured into you at the right time.
And that's another reason why I don't like when I hear, I tell you, we're going to talk.
We're going to talk.
I don't like to hear when people say, oh, the system, the white man, and this and that. I'm like, there's certain things that when you go through things, they'll put something in play for you to at least be okay. And it's how you take advantage of that. And my grandmother kept us all. She brought a house. And we all were living in a house. I had my own space in the basement. I had all my equipment, and that helped me grow through high school, know. And so I always was blessed to have her to do that for me.
You have to be a person to see the glass half full, because there's not going to be 100% anything that you're going to like. You're right. The system is messed up, especially way more now than it's ever been. Right. And if you guys don't pay attention, for those of y'all who are against the system, it's about to get worse.
It's about to get crazy.
But that's another conversation.
That's a whole nother conversation. But I always like to break that into the conversation that I'm talking about my upbringing, because then it makes sense to where I'm at now.
Exactly. Because I can already feel it, because for you to even though it's a later conversation, I can see why that you're in touch with the kids and the mentorship and why you've always been who you've been, like someone who can gravitate towards, because there's not enough of that. But moving on.
So boom. So I came up in the area that I was at. Now I was fortunate to have a guy named DJ, like DJ Breakout. Okay. It was an area called the Stardust Ballroom, which used to be the first place where all the 80s artists used to go and perform. That was like the main space. So that was on the block that I lived at, right in the area, right in the middle of the area.
This was the 80s, 90s?
This was in the 80s. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It shut down in the 80s. And I was living over there. 89, I went over there. Okay. So it wasn't open anymore. But I when I was visiting, I used to see them doing parties and all that over there. So it has a lot of culture in that area.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the OGs know all of the people that's in the industry. They're like the big dogs,
But you get to witness this from like your growing point of view.
Right. So a lot of the stuff that you've seen happen with Puffy and this person and that person, and they mentioned the big wolves and all those guys was from my area. So I used to see them in passing or whatever. So anyway, so one guy that everybody's familiar with, you definitely familiar with, Swiss Beats.
Yeah.
So Kasim, he lived across the street from me, and he's the younger homie, and he used to come by and steal some of my uncle's records because he was working with an artist that later became DMX.
Okay.
So I remember him walking around talking about this artist he was working with, and he's like 2 years or 3 years younger than me. So, we was like that enough where he can, do what he's doing. Shout out to Swiss. Every time I see him, he always remembers. He calls me my hood name Grits, and it always just makes me realize that no matter how much money you get, some people that you're just not gonna forget what you know. So
absolutely.
So that was that process. So then now I wanted to when I graduated high school, I wanted to do music. Now I'm fully into it. What do you want to do after you graduate high school?
You wanted to do music. Right. Like you want to be an artist?
I wanted to be I guess an engineer. I just wanted to do.
You want to create music?
Yeah, it was audio video engineering is what I wanted to do. So in school, in high school, they asked what you wanted to do, and I was like, something with audio and video. So I used to come out with that big metal cart with the TV and all that, and I was always like intrigued by hooking up VCRs.
You was the ones like, I'll do it. I got it.
Yeah. So fast forward, I tried it. My caseworker Chrys Jenkins tried to get me to get into IAR, which is no longer available. IAR wanted like 18 grand for 6 months. So 18 grand for 6 months for that type of trade. For that trade. Yeah.
And people don't know audio engineering, all that stuff. They make the big bucks.
And that was in, like I said, that was 93 because I graduated high school in 93.
Okay.
Went, got denied. Then I didn't stop there. Then I just started trying to figure out, all right, so if I can't get in there, what else am I gonna do? So I just started. I got a day job. Started working at Crate and Barrel in '95. Went to a seasonal job, Crate and Barrel on 59th Street in Madison.
Okay.
Started just saving money and buying pieces of equipment and just start building my own thing.
See, and that's the thing right there. Like you said, okay, this is what I want to do. I can't do it this way. I'm going to find another way. A lot of people stop when they hit that wall because it doesn't go correctly or align with their vision. Right. Keep going. I'm here.
So, and at this time now, the neighborhood is full of rappers, people that's kind of that's doing songs with Chub Rock. These guys are doing songs with the Sporty Thieves. Like everybody knew somebody in the industry. The producers that I was working with was producing Dipset and like so everybody was connected. So I'm like, oh, all right. So y'all doing that, and I'm a producer first. So I used to make the beats. Yeah. I was pretty good at that at the time. I had my own equipment, my zone, but I realized like to sell a beat and to like get it on, like it's mad politics. Somebody's gonna buy it and then they're gonna put their name on it because they're more popular. And it was just the process was too long. I got some money though. I got some money off of the most I ever got off of one beat was $4,000. I'll never forget. This guy drove down from Virginia, wanted the beat, drove down, brought me $4,000 cash. It was a white dude too. $4,000 cash for his group, and then I never seen him again. And
what was the beat making process like in terms of like how you make a beat then in terms of now? Because obviously, you got the equipment. But
yeah, so a lot of the equipment back then was a lot of boards, like you see, and wires.
Boards and wires.
And big. This was the size almost a little bit bigger than some of the size. Actually, Pete Rock and all of them used to use MPC 3000 that was this big and Swiss. And it just had the buttons and all that. So back then it was just a different, and it was mad expensive. So that was like $2,000 or $3,000 for that.
Just to get
now it's more, you can use a computer, you could use your phone. So the technology evolved and it made it more accessible. That's why you see everybody doing everything now. Because
we love accessibility, but do you feel like, what do you think about how it affected the culture in terms of accessibility and what it really means in your heart to make a beat?
I'm like 60-40 with it because I feel like the 60% is positive because everybody. I remember when I couldn't have it. I had the want to and probably the process early on what I wanted to do, but I just couldn't afford the things that would have made me professional. At a young age. Yeah. So I think it allows the youth now to not have to rely on their parents to be able to afford certain things. They can get something to get started. So that's the 40. Excuse me, that's the 60. The 40 is now that everybody's doing it, and then people are just trying to hustle to do it just to try to make money, and they don't have the passion for it.
Yeah, and it makes it.
That makes it a little harsh because then when you try to tell them about why it's not sounding professional or whatever, they kind of like. They don't understand what you're saying because they didn't go through all the processes to understand how does the wire, when you have a Bluetooth headphones on, you don't even understand the process. You just get it from the store, put it in your ear, and you think that's how it works. But this shows you that this is how it really works. It really travels through this wire to get to that. The Bluetooth is a shortcut.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how I teach the kids now, like the cause and effects.
Yeah. All right. So let's continue because we in the midst of it.
Yeah.
So at what point did we get to the point where you said, okay, I want to make music. So you're making this music. You have all these rappers around you. You're selling beats.
Right. All right. So I think the turning point was I got the equipment out. So I was producing music, and the production wasn't selling fast, but I could engineer as well too. So I can actually sit down and record a song. So I started learning that. Taught myself that. Went to a bunch of studios, learned the process, and then I started recording different artists.
Okay.
Now I realized that my ear was pretty good and my creativity was good, and I had my guy AG from Showbiz and AG. He was my uncle's friend, living in that neighborhood. He used to come and visit his father there. So I finally got a chance to meet him, and the relationship I built with him, which I still have now, was dope because he was like my mentor, showing me what the industry was, and he was humble enough to put me on to certain things.
Right.
And after him giving me that confidence, I started recording him. And when I was able to record him, and he sounded like how he sounded on the Soul Clap and all that, I was like, oh, okay, we got something here. So then again, now I'm recording things he needed to record something. Then I got other people coming. So now I figured out my business side. I'm like, all right, I could charge for this. So in my apartment that I had a 3-bedroom apartment in the Bronx, which is huge. Like hallway go down this way, hallway go down that way, room there, living room there, another room here, kitchen all the way over there. And it was me and my sister, my younger sister. So she put me in the position because she got pregnant, got married, and moved to Atlanta. Bought a house and moved to Atlanta because she's been teaching. So
now you have all these rooms.
So I had all these rooms. So I was leasing to, renting out to family members, one room in the back, and then one room was the studio room.
Yeah.
So I turned that into a big old studio room.
That's where it was born.
And I built a booth, a whole wooden booth with a glass door that was so fly. And I got an opportunity. In between all of that, I was recording local artists. I think I started at like $25 an hour. It might have been $15 an hour. I remember. $15 an hour back in like 2000.
Yeah, that was back in the day.
Yeah,
back in the day, because that's not cutting it now.
Right. So then, that elevated, and I started doing it, and I it just was natural. So it wasn't like I never ran into a point where I was frustrated, like, oh, I don't want to do this, I can't do this. I was just like,
it's a natural progression.
It was no pressure.
Yeah.
The only pressure was that in 2001, right before the World Trade Center got hit, I left my job. I left Crate and Barrel because I was making some money enough to pay my rent. So I was like, as long as I'm making this rent money and I'm not struggling, I'm good. I didn't have no kids.
The basic necessities.
Right. And I had a chance to grow my craft at my own speed. So that's kind of how I've evolved into who I am now.
People don't understand that, like, part of chasing your dreams is the evolution process. You can't just go from A to Z. Because, like, listen, especially we say this all the time, and I know I hate to be that person, but social media is a tool, but it also is a thing that makes us believe that people are skipping steps. Right. And you sometimes have to get a job to follow your dream. But once you get to that place where you can have that freedom to work on it, it's...
What's the saying? Where you can't compare, you don't compete.
Hello.
So the internet is the worst thing for that because it's too many things that you see happening that you believe that either you should be doing it or you're not doing enough, and you could be doing everything that you're supposed to be doing for what you do for your demographics. Yeah. And so what I believe is when I started the internet part, I started the radio part. Jesse Jess. From Urban Threshold, he found me on the internet. So this is where the internet plays.
Yeah, because wait, how did you get from because obviously you're still a producer, but what point did you say you're going to go into the radio space? All right,
so from 2000 to 2004 straight, I was straight producer mode, producer and engineer. In 2002 is when I added the radio part to it, and that was just college radio. They had me in the college radio loop. Shout out to my man Spliff. He had me in the college radio loop at Sony. They had all these listening events, and he would I think he came in with an artist. I think I met him. He probably came in. Graf was the first artist that ever came to my home apartment. Remy Ma came to my house apartment. Like Grand Puba, my house apartment. So all those people came to my apartment to do radio at a very early. That was the early part.
But those
of my
are
career.
iconic people too, because those are people that really are in touch with the culture, they're in
Right.
touch with still where they came from. They did, and also in the big, like before they really got huge.
So I think when I started doing that and I started having all that traction, like people word travels fast and people were just sending people. So I had the artists coming to use the studio, the local artists. So now they telling people about the studio. Then I added the radio part. So now the radio people are coming, and then I'm still producing and I'm like putting beats online and going different places, like networking. I never stopped networking. I always was running around to everything because like I said, my neighborhood was part of the industry already. So it wasn't hard for me to try to find my way. I think I was part of a perfect storm. The things that went bad actually propelled me to where I was able to succeed, because I think if my parents was like the traditional parents, when you get out of high school, what are you gonna do? You're gonna go here, you're gonna do this. Nobody pushed me in no direction.
Right.
My caseworkers asked me what did I want to do, and I was able to make that decision. And then
With options in front of you.
Right. And then they tried to get me in those positions, and that's the way that I got there. So I'm kind of like half and half about telling a child what they should do, because I think they might have gifts that they're more passionate about, and you can make money in so many different ways now that I don't think you need to go.
Yeah, it's not traditional at all anymore. You can literally do anything to survive as long as you're gonna commit to it and do it, and that's pretty much where the common denominator is at.
That's exactly where that happened. So the production part was 2000 to 2004 straight. I was like heavy making beats.
That was your joint.
I was making beats. I think when I got into I got close to like 2005. I bought my first commercial studio on Boston Road, which was in the same building where the Stardust building was. That's when my focus was, now I'm a businessman.
Yeah.
Because I was already a businessman, but I was at home.
This is where the stakes get higher.
Right. I was doing cooking breakfast. People were coming like, every time I come here, you cooking some chicken and rice or whatever at the session, because it was convenient.
Yeah,
yeah, right. So I definitely had to.
So at that time, right, because if I remember correctly, there weren't that many internet radio stations.
No.
Where were you at in that space?
I was the beginning.
The pioneer.
I was the pioneer.
You're the one that people was like, yo, I can do that.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So if you were to date back to any of the stations that came up that was on the internet, that was a network in New York City, they all say that they came to the DaMatrix Studios first because of Jesse Jess. Because before I was internet, I had the station for 2 years of just a radio station where artists would come. And then we was on FM radio, 91.9. So that was the only way I had the connection with Jesse Jess. We were the only way you can get on 91.9. The owner of that, the guy that was running that, Rich, he only really rocked with Jesse because Jesse he was consistent. So we all started branding that together. And then I got on 1.FM Jam with my girl Marsha. I got on a couple of other internet stations at that time. And it still wasn't visual yet. This is still just audio. This is just recording it and sending it to these places, which is what a podcast is.
Yeah.
So I was doing that from 2000 to 2004 or 5. And so I had the BlackBerry, right? You ever had the BlackBerry, the big one?
I mean, you know.
Yeah. Not the little ones that came out after, the actual big one.
I never had a big BlackBerry.
All right. So that big black one, before it didn't get visual until they started coming out with the little silver one with I forgot the numbers, but that's when it got visual.
That's when it got lit.
Before, it was kind of like analog with that one. But what happened was there was an app that I was using called Stickcam, and the Stickcam app was like, think of Instagram. When you go on Instagram, you see you in a square, and then think on the side of you, it would be 6 cameras, and then there'd be the chat room at the bottom. And that program had people being able to create their own community, and you would be at home, dress how you dress, laying in the bed, watching and talking, and people will come and look at the camera, see whoever the host is. You could be playing music or talking, and then y'all all can communicate by talking to each other.
It's
like
a visual chat room.
Yeah, like that. That was like that in 2005.
Okay.
So they made a mistake and created an app for that for the BlackBerry. And at that time, thank you, good brother. At that time, I seen into the future. I said, oh, this is going to be crazy if I could do this with my phone in the future. And literally, like after that, the iPhone came out after that. And then then that's when we started doing all of the FaceTiming and all that. And then I just started using webcams, Ustream.
I mean, honestly, like the evolution, guys, is honestly ridiculous because, I mean, even looking at you now where you're at from where I met you.
Right.
I'm talking about like you had screens in the desk above you, below you. It looks so high tech, and I think that's dope to even because like I knew that you were one of the main guys, but I didn't know you were the guy. Yeah. So that's really, really dope to even hear your story from this perspective, knowing you this long.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that story, because I realized I had my head down and working so much
so
that
humble.
I didn't do too many interviews about it because I wasn't completed. I wasn't like. I did this long thing. I think the pandemic made 20 years. Well, we didn't get there yet, but the pandemic. So that's when it was like a milestone. Like, oh, sure, I made 2 decades doing it. The first decade was strong because in that first decade, I had everybody from Nipsey Hussle, J. Cole, KRS-One, all of the award shows that we did with Jesse Jess at BB King's, which had all the celebrities there. So I was backstage with every BBD, Velvet, Bill DeVore. I met everybody. So I was no stranger to meeting the elites in the game. And, you know, I met a couple of humble people. What's his name? Cool Herc used to come to the studio that you was at. He used to literally, by the time we made a relationship, after he's seen me a few times, he knew where that building was. One day he walked inside the building and came in my office and just sat down. I wasn't even in the office. I walked in and he was talking to my boy Cartier the God and my man Demetrius. He was just talking to them. And they just like students, he's sitting at my desk and they kicking it. And I was like, that's crazy. The father of hip hop is here. But between him and Ralph McDaniels, those are like, I'm like in between those two. Like he's the founder of hip hop. Ralph McDaniels is the visual guy with the playing the videos on TV and all that. And then here I come on the internet doing that like for another 20 years. So I'm like in line with those greats, and we have good relationships with all of them. So I never got a chance to tell my story enough, though. You
know, that's just a testament to the type of person that you are and everything that you're getting involved in. Because to be able to put your head down and say, I'm doing this for your reasons, to growth, and you have a kid, you have a son, you know, you're paving a way for other youth to look at you and say, well, I can do that. I can see the story, because we don't see too many people that are like us from our situations, or we go through things and say, oh, well, you know, I don't really want to talk about that because nobody can relate.
Right.
That's the reason why I got into this, is because I felt like I had certain things to say that were relatable, because I was growing up and felt like, am I the only one thinking this? Am I the only one going through this? Yeah, you be having
some conversation. Your brain really be
it be going. Yeah. But in the same instance, like, we need this. People don't. This is why this is so popular, because we need this conversation. We need this to be a part of our culture, because when we don't share, we don't learn from each other. You're dead. You're done.
Yeah, that's it.
You know. So I know that you mentor in this space, and you have, where are you mentoring at? Like, how does this work? Because I can only see little clips of it.
Yeah,
Tell me
the mentorship started with Guns Down, Life Up, and that happened at the studio, like I said, in 2017. My guy Jimbo came and gave me an opportunity to work with it. So I'm a vendor to the hospital up in the Bronx, Lincoln Hospital. And that program was to give kids the opportunity to learn podcasting and to learn editing and processing of making beats, and then see real life studios. So we used to just bring the kids to the studio there. So that's how it started. But inside of me, again, it was already, I had it in my head that this is part of the plan, is I got to teach some kids like what I learned. Because I learned very unorthodox. I just learned and figured things out along the way.
You had the freedom to.
Yeah, right. And through a traumatic situation, so we could say that music really like saved me from being, I never was stressed about the situation. And that's kind of, you know, it might sound heartless, but I think I was able to be filled with the void that I had. Me doing my own thing and having a focus and a plan helped me build off of that. So if feeling the loss of my parents, I feel like it gave me birth of who I am, and I do it for them.
In the positive sense.
Because my mother, when she was coming up, she used to have pictures of Luther Vandross and all these guys signed, because she worked at a talent agency. I didn't even know that. Like, when I was coming up, I was too young to even understand.
Of course, we never know what our parents do when we coming up in LA.
And my dad was just a city worker. He was a traffic cop guy, which I hate them now. They stay giving me tickets. But I love them. Rest in peace to my dad. And my mom. But they instilled some values in us. They was married. They went through what they went through, but they always was amicable. They always able to talk.
Listen, we're human. Like, we break, we grow. Sometimes we recover, sometimes we don't. It's a lot to really learn from the book of life here. Right. You never know where it's gonna take you, but I think that's dope. Because again, you say you went into this because your situation. Right. You know, there's tons of kids, no matter what walk of life that they come from, music is is going to be the thing that saves our life. Because one thing people don't understand is in our bodies, we are made up of water. Water responds to frequency. Music is a big part of that. A lot of people like even can't even speak or communicate, but what they can do is they can sing. They can rap. They can remember words to a song. So we have to remember how powerful that is. And it's even in the podcasting space. We're dealing with electronics here. There's still some frequencies going on. So I think it opens up a big part of us that we don't understand.
Right.
But as we're seeing it unfold, there's some understanding.
And that's why doing the mentorship is important to me, because I know that this is probably the best way to get to the next generation, to hear what's on their mind.
Yes.
Not to tell them anything. We should listen. We should let them talk about whatever they want to talk about so that we can understand what they're going through, make it fun for them. Not just ask them a bunch of questions as adults and want them to answer. Like, just give them some topics and sit back. Teach them how to use the equipment so you don't have to be in the same room with them, and then you just go back and get the footage and the audio and listen to it, and then you build from there. And then you start giving them challenges. So that's pretty much what I started to do.
It's empowering them to find their voice, and if you listen to the youth, that's where the future is at. We say that the kids are our future all the time. But how many of us are listening to them? How many of us are actually putting the policies in place that are for the future that they will inherit? So I think that's a perfect opportunity to honestly hear what they have to say. Put a microphone in front of your kid, tell them to talk.
Exactly. And call me up. DWI is a 3Ds of podcasting. That's what I'm working on.
3Ds of podcasting.
The 3P. These 3Ps of podcasting. And this is important because the 3Ps stand for producing. So you got to create something. You got to have some production. And that can be anything. It could be sneakers, a shirt, a hairline. You got to produce it first. Then you got to perform it. So you got to show why it works or how it works, right? So you have to show if you're doing a podcast. And then you have to promote it. You have to promote it to get it out there. And those are the 3Ps, the 3 most important Ps of podcasting and creating something. And I figured, so that's the program that I have now. So now what I do and where I do it, right now I'm working with a program from a young, I'm actually going to meet her right after this interview.
That's right, working.
Shout out to Camille. She was a crazy vet in the industry, and I met her on Clubhouse years ago. Yeah, I met her on Clubhouse years ago. But what came out of that meeting, she was in the room with Jeff Robinson and all of them. They used to always be talking to industry stuff. And then she... her son had passed away from cancer, so she created this Zion program for her son. And during when we was in Clubhouse, we was talking to Kid and Play. I was the guy on Clubhouse doing the interviews and all that, because again,
I know I caught your Clubhouses. I was up there.
I pioneered the beginning of all the audio and interview styles on there before everybody got hip to that or whatever. And she reached out to me after. She was like, I'm going through this right now, but when I get right, I want you to help me with this podcast. And originally, she wanted me to help her do a podcast about going around to different restaurants, and she's gonna pick all the celebrity friends that she has and just have conversations with them. And it's something called like Break Bread, something like that, something to that effect. And that is her thing. So I said, I got you. I'll do that for you.
I love that.
And that turned into, she had a program in the school of Boys and Girls in Brooklyn. She knows she's good with the principal out there. And shout out to Graf. I seen him out there too one day. We both bumped into each other while I was teaching. He came in because he's going to be teaching a music program there too.
Oh,
so anyway,
nice.
so yeah, they have a nice setup, a nice computer studio room up there, and they wasn't really utilizing it right. So she reached out and got me, and I live in Brooklyn now, so it was like maybe 10 minutes away from where I live. So once every Wednesday I went there and did that for like 10 weeks. So we got that. That was my first time doing it like that. But I was teaching kids in school in children's aid as well for the last 2 years. So after the pandemic, there was no work, and then my friend Malika got me a job as an actual teacher, and I didn't go to school for teaching. So
I definitely saw that.
So that was a way that it worked out in my benefit, that
everything just aligned.
Right.
It definitely could tell that this was supposed to be the path.
Yeah, the kids loved me, the staff loved me. I loved it there because I got a chance to work for somebody for the first time in 22 years at that time, and I was just like, oh wow, this is what it's like to get a check every week.
Oh wow, yeah. Consistency.
So
ironic.
But yeah, so that's why I really was like, all right, I really don't want to be a traditional teacher doing the lessons and lesson plans on that. I really just want to be able to teach them the way that I teach, and have a cause and effect. Do it in a way that the kids and everybody understands what they learned from it. But it's hard to say, all right, here, take this, here's your homework. Like, you got to, like, let them do things hands-on, and then you'll know that they learn when they do what you ask them to do without you saying anything.
See, but I love that because, like, again, you're not a traditional teacher. You didn't go into that from that. But the reality of it is not everybody learns the same way.
Right.
We still have an institution, an educational institution that teaches every child the same. And it's just not going to work out that way. I mean, honestly, how many years ago school were like, what did I use this for? What was I going to use that for? Because that wasn't my calling, you know? So you're wasting, I wouldn't say wasting, but misdirecting valuable years where you can actually find a child's true calling and send them in that direction. So,
and so I want to go back just a couple of steps. So when I had the studio that you was at in 2017, at that time, most of the engineers that I got was guess from where? From IAR.
Oh, yeah.
So I got interns now from the place that I couldn't even get inside of before.
Crazy.
And it was crazy when the guy called me. He was like, yeah, you know, I want to use your studio. I told him the story.
Full circle.
I was like, you see how that works out? Like, I couldn't pay to get in, but now you sending me the people that paid to get in to get out. And so, and I always held that close. And then some of the ones, shout out to my guy Draft, like he was Oren, those guys came, and we're still family to this day.
Wow.
So
you had some really good engineers there.
So to the point that you made earlier, I don't want to gloss over that either. That I made sure that I brought the studio when we were doing the DaMatrix Studios up as a family orientated place, because it was so competitive and people were so catty and this and that and so possessive.
It can get there quick.
Right. So I made it a effort to keep everybody on the same line so that we don't never, because the whole thing falls apart once you do that. And I had a few times where I had to like really get rid of people because they just was going to be a cancer to the whole situation.
Yeah, it can't be a toxic and a positive environment.
And people used to come as guests and used to say that, yo, when I come here, it feels family, it feels like a vibe, like. And I realized
we used to have media days too.
Yeah,
it was dope.
And those still going. I just got called for Freeway and Beans to do one, and I'm like, oh, perfect. Now I can just call my people. So yeah, the evolution of where I came from now is like, now I'm in a position. It's still not like a money grab, like some people like to look at it like, yeah, well, how much you gonna pay me? But it's like I'm gonna get paid because money follows attention. So if I just keep doing what I do, that I'll continue to make money. It's been, 25 years now.
That's right.
We're about to celebrate 25 years, and I'm inviting you personally. I'm going to have a 50-year birthday, 50/25. So it's going to be 50 years.
I love that.
Birthday and 25 years doing the media in New York City. Okay. So that's a 50/25.
We in there. Let me know what you need help with.
Half and half. It's going to be in Jersey at my man Broadway spot. He got a big white hall right outside Jersey City, and it's gonna next April when the weather is nice. It's gonna be dope. I want to do it like how we did that award show, where I invite everybody, all the media, because it's gonna be a tribute to all the media, everybody that's doing something. Because whenever I look, and shout out to FUBU Radio too, like they're pioneers of the fashion, and now look at how they transition into this. And I seen they caught a deal the other day that they're gonna have their own platform, something like that, right?
It's a thing. It's a thing.
It's a thing. Right. So when I see things like that, I think back to myself, like, not so much that like they got that from me. I'm not like, oh, I'm the first one. I just want people to know that I was the guy like trying to figure stuff out. Like I was the one like doing all the camera stuff.
When it wasn't a thing.
And I'm sure there were other people doing things other places, because I remember when I was on that app, I seen different celebrities. Soulja Boy was on there, but they wasn't running it as a network. They were just doing it individually.
Exactly. It takes a good big mind to want to include a lot of different people, because like we're great by ourselves. That's great. You're awesome. You can do these heights. But when you have a team, when you have a collective, when you have a community, you become stronger and more powerful and more aligned in the path that everybody's supposed to go. Like essentially, people need to stop being so catty and territorial. It don't get you nowhere. You know, as we even see, a couple of celebrities like Omari Hardwick complaining about the whole power situation. You're right, you are power. But at the same time, you were the pioneer. This is what gave the other people opportunities to make this. So let's create something bigger, you know? So it's good to recognize who you are, but it's also even better to recognize that you have a sense of community.
And so when I came out, I called myself DWI. DWI stands for Damien Williams Influence. So before anybody was talking about being an influencer, that was in my name. And now when I look
before
back,
it was a word.
Yeah, when I look back now, like that was my goal, to influence people by doing media, and it actually, I look back, I'm like, I actually did that.
To know you had your hand in it. Right.
So that's the legacy now. So now it's I'm doing an event in the 29th of August called EDM, Evolution of Digital Media. I'm doing it down at this place called the Sound Collectives.
Okay.
The Sound Collectives is downtown near the Bow on Wall Street area.
So we got to get all that information from you to drop all these events.
Yeah,
Wait, let me ask you this question, right? Because I mean, obviously this is the space that it's turning into, but you know, there are parents out there that are looking for something for their child. Like what could a parent do who's looking for a music program or something like this? How can they get in touch with anybody? What would be the directive or
all right,
advice
so they
you
can
would
go, we have an actual page on the DaMatrix Studios website. So that is
It's all right, start again.
DaMatrix Studios, that's the old email. DaMatrixStudios.com. All right, you go to DaMatrixStudios.com and you look on there for the D's 3Ps of podcasting program.
3Ps of podcasting.
It'll say programs on it, and then it has what you can do. I actually do, starting in August, I'll have a way where the kids can come to the studio and I'll teach like up to 4 kids every month as a class how to podcast.
That's dope. That's dope. Would there be a way maybe in the near future where they could maybe do it online?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
I love that. See? You're always thinking ahead. I knew it.
Yeah. Got that working out with a lady in Arizona. She has a school where she works with she said 70 kids about mental health, and so she wants to collaborate with me so that we can build the program so that we can do something online. So that's already she's already working that out.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
That'll be later on this year.
Looking forward to it. So is this who D really is?
Yeah, this is the man, the myth, the legend.
All right, so what's the next big thing? I know we're doing the birthday. I know we have all this media stuff going on.
Yeah, the next big thing is just to continue to keep the evolution of the media going and to keep us connected.
Absolutely.
Especially us that are in a place where we have the opportunity to change things, because they like to say, you know, the white man controls the media. And I'm like, yeah, but they ain't the one posting all these stupid clips and all that all day. And I was at the Common and Pete Rock event the other day, and everybody in the crowd, I don't have my phone in my hand, and I'm media. They like this. Everybody's like this. So what happened? I'm looking at that. I'm doing the math. I'm like, so all those 1,000 people now, after they're done, are gonna go and stream and post it on their platform. And who's getting all of that buzz? Instagram, TikTok. Like, and I just need people to understand. Like, we gotta figure out a way to reap the benefits of that, of what we're putting out there.
Yep, and we have the ability to change the narrative and put our own
Big,
narrative out there. You know, we want to complain about the networks and say, you know, the Foxes and the CNNs, but where are our competitive networks at? Who's going to be the people that are going to stand up and say, okay, well, I'm going to be that network.
Right.
We're looking at you. Are you going to be that guy, that girl? Let's do it.
Right, and you see what 50 and what Tyler Perry is doing right now. Like, those are the things that could have been done a long time ago.
Yes.
What the DaMatrix Studios was and was that I always collaborated with everybody. So remember, you came, that was your brand. I didn't take your brand. I was just the producer of it, and that was my thing. There's other places
you were there to help everybody who, whether they're coming through or staying, to grow.
Right, and what happened was during that time, everybody was gatekeeping and trying to say, you can't mention this, you can't mention that. And what happened to me, what I feel like if you ever wanted to say, or you could have been here, if I wanted to just be the DWI show, or if I wanted to produce Joe Buttons or this person, that person, I was way equipped to do all of that. From Versus, I watched Versus when they first started. I watched Joe when he first started his show. I watched Mav Hoffa. I seen all of them come up, and I'm like, all of those guys came through my network first as guests. So they knew something was happening before, but they went the way that they went to get it going, and now they're at where it's at. But it's beautiful that happened, but we could have all been doing that at a longer time, but they was artists and producers, and they wasn't seeing the vision that I saw. Yeah. Now they see the vision because there's money there, and people are writing checks for it. So that I just want one or two of those checks just for working with someone on the network.
Residuals. You know what I'm saying?
That's it.
Get them. Residuals is where it's at.
For what they did to the Cold Crush, that's all.
That's it. Yo, I appreciate this conversation. Like, all these years I've known you, I didn't really get to understand the depth of you, and you know, I respect it. I seen you interviewing a couple of people. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta go up and talk to them. Gotta come through. There's certain things that need to be heard, and I feel like certain platforms, especially FUBU, is a perfect place for us, by us. Hello. And I'm that guy. I'm always
I've been in the hood. I stayed in the Bronx for how many years? 20 years.
Yeah.
Bringing celebrities up there. People, I gotta go over to the Bronx.
But people was coming up to the Bronx.
Oh yeah. When I release my list of all the people that came up to the Bronx, it's gonna blow people's minds because it's been 22 years of all type of people coming.
And
in.
still going strong.
Still
the
going.
evolution is going strong, and I can see the new shows that are coming from your station.
Yeah.
We're
on Wall Street now. We got a little bit bougie, but not too much bougie.
Bougie, except it's a matter of just distance too. Some people just be like, damn, I gotta go far.
Is it parking? Like, does it matter? Get on the train. This is New York City.
That's the perfect spot to get on the train.
Right.
You shouldn't have no complaints.
Right. And all the trains is right around there.
Right
the 2,
there.
the 3, the 1, the N, the R, the W, the 5, the 6,
What's that saying? Listen,
good.
if you didn't get anything from today's show, you must have gotten, and you must get, the fact is you don't stop. You keep going. You chase them dreams by any means necessary, and stop making excuses.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you hate excuses?
I hate it.
All right? Excuses are like the killer of dreams.
Yep.
Not with it.
Just do it.
So what you blessing with us with? Let them know where to find you, what's going on, everything. Because I know you got a meeting coming up,
Yep. I gotta get back on the train and go to Brooklyn now. But yeah, you can find me at DaMatrixStudios.com. DaMatrix Studios, that's with the S at the end.com. And anywhere on the internet is DWIMUZIK. DWIMUZIK. And all the programs is up there. This little skits and snippets to show you what I'm doing. And if you want to bring me to a program near you, I'm like a freelance, so you could just book me. Like it's not like I'm loyal to who I work with, but it's my own program, my own brainchild, and I'm looking to expand and bring up other kids. So if you got kids that want to be mentored so that they can have a job to do, like it can happen just like that.
It can just happen. You're not inaccessible.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Got to keep it humble. We don't understand how many of the greats and icons are around you.
Yep.
So thank you so much, D. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
I'm going to let you get to this meeting, but we're going to chop it up later, and I'm going to party with you later this week.
Yep.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right,
Peace.
guys. This is FUBU Radio. This is D. I'm your girl, Chrys. What do I? Don't ask me why. Just do it. Keep it locked. FUBU, U42.